Okay, welcome to another industry panel session, everyone, where we are glad to be presenting to you the Business Leadership Speaker Series. We are delighted to be joined by prominent guests from multinational organisations sharing their insights with us on accounting at a time where we are faced with a pandemic. I'd also like to especially welcome all of our students, academics and staff who are joining us online today from Torrens University, Australia. My name is Mustafa Kadi and I'm your industry consultant here at Torrens University, Australia. Before I start, I do want to do a bit of housekeeping. Please make sure your video and mic are turned off with the exception of our panel. We want to make sure only our industry panels videos are on, and that includes you, Kim. I will do a bit of an intro, and then we'll have a representative from CPA to tell us more about the CPA program, what it becomes to become a CPA, and how you can become involved. We will then be joined by a panel where we will have an interactive Q&A session to learn more about these organisations. It is fair to say that we are facing a pandemic. It is unprecedented, and hence today we turn our focus to how the current pandemic has affected the way that businesses are reporting, forecasting, and measuring performance. And more importantly, how are they managing during the crisis? We are living in a challenging world. We are witnessing strategies rapidly changing due to rising complexities with how businesses operate. This is a challenging time for many, particularly that of leaders, as they are faced with a great deal of uncertainty. Some will come out stronger, some will fight for survival, and others will surely be feeling the pressure of these challenging times. So we have invited leaders in accounting to talk to us about how the current pandemic has affected the way some international firms are operating. And we have with us representatives from PwC, Domino's, and the Woolworths Group to talk to us about how the current pandemic has affected the way that these businesses are reporting, forecasting, and measuring performance. And more importantly, what are they doing to manage during this crisis? I'm delighted to be joined by a special panel today. And today we have with us...
Kelsey, I'm not able to attend the industrial panel because it's from the...
If you can please mute your microphones, that would be great. So I'm delighted to be joined by a special panel today. With us today, we have three industry guests: Vanessa Chan, a senior consultant in the infrastructure and urban renewal team at PwC Australia; Neil Padley, the head of finance shared services at Woolworths Group; and Ben Richards, corporate accounting manager at Domino's. But we also have a special person today. We've got a special person that's representing CPA and has worked really hard to make this event possible, and that is Kim Hieronymus. I hope I've said your surname right. I always find surnames challenging, I must admit.
You were pretty close.
Good. I'm glad I'm close. So Kim is the relationship manager with CPA Australia and is based out of Brisbane. She has extensive experience in business development, marketing, customer service, and sales. Kim, can you tell us a bit about yourself and CPA? But more importantly, why should someone become a CPA and how can students become more involved? Over to you, Kim.
Thanks, Mustafa. So it's Kim Hieronymus. So you were really close there. And I'm really pleased to be here today. And thank you to our three amazing panelists that are joining us. Really appreciate your time. I know it's a very busy time for you guys. So just wanted to, say how much we appreciate it. So I've been with CPA Australia now for 8 or 9 months and working out of the Brisbane office as a relationship manager. And in my role, I've been working with the tertiary institutions and also our employer partners. And so, yeah, it's been a really interesting time. And I'm just here to share very quickly with you a little bit about the CPA program and why you guys as students might consider the program. But I'm not going to take up too much time because I really want you to hear what the three amazing CPAs that we've got here today have to tell you. So I'm just going to quickly share a slide deck with you. Now, if I can just get that on slideshow. There we go. Can you see that?
Yes. Can you put it on slideshow?
Oh, is that not on slideshow?
No, we can.
What have I done?
There's a slideshow button at the top next to animation.
Oops, sorry.
That's
Technical
okay.
difficulties. Okay, so I'll go this. So you
Perfect.
can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So a little bit about who CPA Australia is for those of you that may not be aware. So we're one of the largest accounting bodies in the world. We've got over 166,000 members in over 100 countries. So we truly are an international and global organisation. More than 25,000 of our members sit in senior leadership positions, and we've been around for more than 130 years. So what are our core services that we offer to our members? Well, education obviously is core. So we have the CPA program, which I will go through shortly. We also advocate for our members. You know, you probably have heard some of what we've been doing in the media. We offer technical support. Okay, sorry. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. So on to the next slide. What are your career aspirations in the short term and future? So I really want you guys to just have a think about, you know, what you've just you're completing your degree, or you may be nearly completing your degree. What are your aspirations, you know, now in the short term, but also for the future? Do you want to live and work internationally? Because if you do, then this designation absolutely will help you. Flexibility in your life, is that important to you? I could hear that, you know, in the backgrounds, potentially some of you have children in the background. So flexibility is key, and that's what we offer through our program. Do you want to be a well-respected lead professional within your field? Absolutely. I think that's something we all strive to be. And also, would you like to take the lead and progress onto a leadership position? If you do, then the CPA program is going to absolutely help you get there. So just quickly, the accounting landscape today, as we know, as Mustafa has just gone through, we're in a global pandemic, and that has changed a lot of the way we are all working. I think majority of us on here today are probably working from home. So it just goes to show that there's been new technology emerging in response to this pandemic, and we've all worked out a new way of working and connecting with others. And, you know, this webinar is key to that. I mean, we've got people on here from all around Australia. So it's absolutely what's happened has been devastating to the economy, but it's actually, you know, brought out a few positives as well. And I think this is one where we can all come together throughout Australia to share our insights. Obviously, we all know about the economic impacts of COVID and what the government response has been. It has raised the profile and the importance of the accounting profession. We're seeing, you know, the role of accountants is key to a lot of these businesses succeeding. And also it's brought about an increased importance of being adaptable to change and also resourcefulness in the workforce. I can find my slides. What are the future job skills in accounting? So a lot of people think, you know, that with artificial intelligence that perhaps the accounting role may become redundant. Absolutely not. It is even more important, and especially the human touch skills, the soft skills are going to be absolutely essential in an accountant's role in the future. So being able to work in a team and communicate with people, as we can see, we're all working from home, so those communication skills are absolutely critical. Being able to work cross-culturally and resolve conflict. These are all really important, but also emotional intelligence. You know, there's a lot going on at the moment with COVID, and having that emotional intelligence is critical to a role of an accountant. So our global network, I did mention we're an international organisation, and you can see from this map that we absolutely are. We have offices right through many countries. We have mutual agreements with other countries and we've got over 400, more than 400 recognised employer partners throughout the world. So we truly are a global organisation, and I believe a lot of you on the line today might be an international student, and so this is obviously relevant to you guys, whether you want to return to your country or whatever your aspirations are to perhaps travel, move to another country. Your CPA designation will be recognised. Just to give you a quick insight as to who our valued recognised employer partners are here in Australia, that's just a very small snapshot. We have more on the website if you'd like to have a look at who they are. So why would you want to become a CPA? What does it mean? So it's a prestigious internationally recognised designation, as we've already spoken about. It's a high mark. It's a mark of high professional competence. It also indicates that you have a soundness in depth, breadth, and quality of accountancy knowledge, and they are widely regarded throughout many industries. So the CPA program prepares you for a great career. You know, it will prove that you are technically skilled and that you are solution driven. So our subjects are all put together and are designed to provide you with these skills. To be strategic, a strategic leader and a business partner in a truly global environment. To be aware of what the social impacts are of accounting, adaptable to change and able to communicate and collaborate. So you might be wondering, okay, what do I have to do to become a CPA? You need to study the CPA program. You have 4 compulsory subjects: ethics and governance, strategic management accounting, financial reporting, and global strategy and leadership. For those of you that might want to get a head start before you graduate from your course that you're currently studying, you may want to enroll in the ethics and governance module, for which you actually don't need to become a member of CPA or an associate member, as we call it. So you can start that before you graduate. But yeah, I'm available to discuss more if you want more information on that. This is the elective subjects that you can choose from. You need to do 2 of these subjects. And yeah, it just depends what you've studied. If you've done taxation through your degree now, you may not need to do taxation. If you haven't studied taxation, then you will need to study the taxation subjects as your electives. So you don't need to be working to start the program, and you can study it from anywhere in the world. And there's global access to computer-based exams. It takes roughly 3 to 4 years to finish, and you need to allow 10 to 15 hours of study per week. So we do encourage joining a study group because it is tough. It's a tough program, and it is, you know, we're not going to lie, you need to put that time aside. Once you become an ASA, so if you sign up for the program, you can then use the ASA designation, you know, to enhance your profile if you're going for a job or whatnot. What's important is your experience requirements. So not only do you need to complete the CPA program, but you also need to have 36 months worth of work experience. Now, what's important to note is that this experience can be gained at any time. So you may be currently working either full-time or part-time or voluntary, and that may be considered, if you know, if it's relevant, that may be considered towards your 36 months worth of work experience. Once you gain your 36 months worth of work experience and you've completed the program and passed, you are then eligible to become CPA. I am rushing through this, so I do apologise, but we do have Become a CPA information sessions. We've got another one next week and one the week after, so we can certainly provide you with more information on that if you would like. Okay, that's it for me. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Kim. That was very insightful. And I would highly encourage our students to think about becoming a CPA and being involved in their events. That's really impressive. 400 high quality employing partners, but also 166,000 members worldwide. That's impressive, Kim. So thank you for sharing that. And again, it does, you know, it is that mark of recognition and being career ready. So it is important to really think about becoming a CPA. But also, I believe CPA has got an ambassador program, which is fantastic because you have an opportunity as a student to connect with some of these potential CPA employers and volunteer at events, particularly after things hopefully start to ease with the restrictions being lifted. Now, we are now ready for our panel session. So I'd like to begin by introducing each speaker and then asking them to give us some organizational insights, a few words by each panelist to give us an intro about their firm. So, for example, the scale of their business, what the culture's like, recent changes due to COVID-19, particularly with working from home, and so on. First, let me introduce Vanessa Chan. Vanessa, hello. Vanessa is a senior consultant in the Infrastructure and Urban Renewal team at PwC Australia. She works closely with public and private sector clients across transport, tourism, health, and renewable industries. Her project experience includes business case development, financial and commercial advisory, financial modeling, market engagement, transaction, procurement, and project management. Wow, Vanessa, at PwC, they make sure they're keeping you busy, aren't they?
For sure.
Now, Vanessa is also a qualified CPA, but this is really special. She's also the chair of the CPA Queensland Young Professionals Committee, and also a founding member of the Big Four CPA/ASA networking group, and also a membership chair of the Hong Kong Australia Business Association Queensland chapter. Vanessa, wonderful to have you on board today. Can you tell us a little bit more about PwC, how many offices there are, which areas you provide service in, and a bit about recent changes due to COVID-19, particularly working from home?
Yep. Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. It's always interesting to hear the intro being read up by someone else, and thank you for inviting me. Very excited to be here. PwC Australia, that is a very good question. I should know how many firms we have worldwide. We are one of the four Big Four accounting firms globally. In Australia, I believe we have around 8,000 staff across most of the major cities. And we also have offices in, say, Parramatta, Newcastle, and Darwin. So a presence in most of the major cities. PwC traditionally was a audit and tax firm. We've also now got a consulting practice, a financial advisory practice, and private client practice. There's always a new team coming up every now and then as well. So if you're interested in our service lines, please have a look on our website. I work under the financial advisory STEM under Deals and Infrastructure and Urban Renewal, which is a relatively small part of the firm, but growing very rapidly. In regards to changes from COVID-19, I think it was the second question.
Yes.
I think our firm sort of adapted to progressive changes in closing our offices since March. So at the moment, we are back to a certain level where people are allowed to come into the office. So I'm currently using one of our pop-in rooms, but for most of, I think, March to early June, our offices were closed and no one was allowed to be here. So I guess some positives that came out from COVID-19 for our firm is we've always had the policy about working from home and, flexible working and all of that. And I guess this was a situation that happened really quickly and we had to close the firm really quickly, and people really adapted and embraced the changes that needs to happen to make sure that we can still function as a firm and as a team in many cases. So, I think we really quickly started looking at what sort of software we could use for collaboration. The nature of my work involves a lot of meetings, client meetings, and before COVID-19, I would spend most of my month traveling to different cities to meet our clients. And I guess, for all levels of our organisation to be able to say we need to try and find some other ways to deal with these interactions, whether it be using Microsoft Teams or Skype or any other platform. That's something that everyone had to really quickly move into. And and that proves that it can all happen, it can all work. So I guess a change for our team, probably in particular, is starting to think about how much do we actually need to be in the office. What is the long-term change that might happen to offices? I'm not entirely aware about our firm in particular, but I know in the industry there's a lot of talk about whether we still need all this office space. Particularly, we have always been using hot desk system. We don't have a set desk every day in the first place for a couple of years now. So whether that is all still required. So that's it for me for now.
Fantastic. Thank you for that, Vanessa. That's wonderful. And really interesting insight there about looking at software for collaboration and obviously having less travel. So that's definitely a highlight. Now I want to move to Neil Padley. So Neil is the head of finance shared services at Woolworths Group. He's been working in the industry for over 25 years in Australia and overseas, both in public and private sectors. He has been involved in the design, build, go live and ongoing leadership of shared services at BHP, Brisbane City Council, Transport New South Wales, Air New Zealand and Australia Post. It is fair to say he's got considerable experience in all areas of corporate services. And he's a fellow of CPA Australia, member of the Australian Institute of Company Directors, and also the Australian Human Resource Institute. I didn't realise you were involved with RE, Neil. So that's good to hear. He was also the president of the Australasian Shared Services Association for over 7 years. I had the pleasure of sharing a table with Neil at last year's CPA Congress at the Adelaide Convention Centre. And it's been a while since we last talked, Neil. Can you tell us a little bit more about the Woolworths Group, where the operations are managed, and roughly how many are in the team across Australia? And also give us a bit of an insight about recent changes due to COVID-19. Over to you, Neil.
Thanks, Mustafa. Afternoon, everyone. Woolworths Group, it's quite a diverse company. I think most of you will know Woolworths from the grocery side of the business and the metro side of the business, if you see some of our smaller stores. But we also own Countdown in New Zealand, which is a supermarket brand in New Zealand, for those that may be dialing in from overseas or have visited New Zealand. We also own the BWS and Dan Murphy's brand, and also have a brand called ALH, which is our hotels, pubs and clubs brand. And so we're quite a diverse business from that point of view. So we have a number of partnerships as well across the business. So whenever you go to Caltex, you might see the green WAPL, as we call it, the green W sign there. In terms of number of people, we've got about 200,000 within our business. So it's quite a sizable organisation. From a finance point of view, there's probably about 700 in the finance team. So it's, again, quite a large team. Just over 200 of the finance team sit within shared services. The rest sit in corporate or operational teams. So you look at tax, treasury, external reporting, investor relations, those type of teams, as well as the operational business unit teams. In shared services, we look after accounts payable, accounts receivable, and that team's based in Hobart. So we've got about 150 people based in Hobart. We have a team in Adelaide, about 65, 70 people sitting there. And they're more the general accounting reporting team. So they focus on our weekly reporting cycle on gross profit and inventory. Look at all the costs of doing business, like employee costs, insurances, electricity, gas across all of our stores and the network that we have. We also look after fixed assets. We've got thousands of assets across the group, as you can imagine. And we have the third largest banking switch in Australia, behind CBA, Westpac, and then Woolworths has the third largest switch above National and ANZ Bank. So we do have a lot of transactions going through our business every day. What's changed? Well, we never thought we could actually do a month end, let alone a year end, for working from home. Being so interconnected, when we do that, we've had to find different ways of working together. It has been an interesting and challenging time. We've had to roll out laptops to everyone. So 200 people got a laptop, which we never had before because people were coming to the office every day. That's what we did, and now we've got laptops where people can work flexibly from anywhere at any time, which has been fantastic to enable us to do that. In our query team, where suppliers ring up our query team in Hobart, asking questions around have our invoices been paid, have they not? We used to print all those queries out and hand them out to various teams. We've had to change our way of working, and so we don't print those off anymore. Everything's electronic, everything's digital. So there's been a significant shift in the way that we actually work, which has been great for us. We're not going through a pallet or of paper every week, which we used to do. So it's great for the environment, but it's also saving us money, and we're more efficient in the way we do things. So there's been a lot of challenges for us. We're obviously one of those essential services. And so there's been a hell of a lot more costs coming into our business, whether that's be through security, additional staff. So we employed over 20,000 staff during the crisis just because of the volume of people coming in. We had to control, from security, greeters, more cleaning, putting all the little signage everywhere, putting up the plastic screens. So there's been a whole lot of additional costs coming to our business to enable us to still continue to operate. So yes, our sales have gone up, but our costs have gone up with that as well. Yeah.
I can imagine. Yeah, no, I can imagine. But 20,000 staff, that's impressive. I mean, just managing the recruitment of those 20,000 staff is a challenge in itself.
Yeah, so we did that all through robotics too. All of those people were recruited via using robots to upload and create their profile within our technology system.
Wow. So they were all automated, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Wow. That's impressive. And it's really interesting to note that working together. I think that's really been the highlight of the conversations recently with industry is the well-being and the feeling of connectedness has been really important. I now move to our third panelist, and we'll have a Q&A session where we'll sort of dive deep into some of these areas and some of these questions. But now I'd like to move to our third panelist, Ben Richards. Ben is a corporate accounting manager at Domino's, based out of Brisbane. He studied the Bachelor of Commerce at James Cook University in Townsville. He has some 13 to 15 years of industry experience. When he was undertaking his studies at uni, he also worked for Findex as an audit advisor. In 2011, he joined Queensland Nickel as a business analyst, where he progressed to financial accountant, and then senior accountant. Ben moved to the Gold Coast in 2015 and joined Dinata Catering as their financial accountant, and I believe it used to be called Alpha Flight Services back then. In 2016, Ben's career began with Domino's as their corporate accountant. His career progressed, and he became the corporate accountant team leader and eventually a corporate accounting manager for them. Ben is a qualified CPA, and he also sits in the committee. He's also a committee member in the Queensland Young Professionals Committee for CPA Australia. Ben, fantastic to have you with us today. Tell us about Domino's. What does the head office operations look like, and how is the organisation managing with COVID-19? But more importantly, do staff get free pizzas as a staff perk?
I will. I'll start with that one. And yes, we do.
With that one.
we do. As long as it's eaten on staff premises. Otherwise, we have FBT on it. So
right.
We definitely get free pizzas. Thanks for having us. I am on the committee, which Vanessa is the chair. So me and Vanessa often interact. Thanks for having me, everyone. Domino's Pizza Enterprises, which I work for, is the largest pizza chain in Australia, both in store numbers and network sales. We're the largest franchisee for the Domino's pizza brand in the world. We hold the exclusive franchise rights for the Domino's brand in Australia, New Zealand, Belgium, France, Netherlands, Japan, Germany, Luxembourg, and Denmark. the Domino's brand is owned by Domino's Pizza Inc. In the US. Across the 9 countries, we have 2,500 stores, and we're the leading international Domino's franchise. And also we have over 25,000 staff across all our stores over the 9 countries. About my role, yes, I'm the corporate accounting manager, mainly focusing on the management accounting of the ANZ function. Also look after our construction company, and we also have a bike company, which is e-bikes and performance bikes. So we have versed a little bit. So I look after the inventory of that, and the warehouse we have, I guess, servicing all our stores, and also our bike company. I also look after we have a couple of business partners, I guess, in operations, both for corporate stores and franchise stores, as well as an IT business partner. It does keep me quite busy and very diverse in what I work with, but Domino's is very fast moving, adaptable business. So I guess in relation to our response to COVID, we worked well with it. I've never worked harder over the last 3 months, and I'm pretty sure Vanessa and Neil probably the same. The amount of hours that I've worked, I've gone from I got thrown doing weekly forecasts. We've never been involved. My team's never been involved in the forecast. Usually, my team would look after managing, I guess, commentary and analysis against our budget. We are now doing the forecast as well. We moved to weekly forecast reporting, which was fun. We thought we were going to move to a 24-month rolling forecast. We got 1 week to do preparation and to hold all budget meetings, and we've done our FY21 budget, so as well as prepping for our year end, which hopefully I get signed off tomorrow. So it's been a fun period. The things that Domino's have done well is, like everyone, flexibility in our working. We all had laptops, so working from home, everyone went out and bought monitors and equipment they required at home to make their setup good. We had people in the company move cities, so I don't know how that's operated. And permanently, we are moving to a flexible part-time environment where we have booking of desks and whatnot, and that's a big movement than previous philosophies from our management, where they believe that we had to be working from site. So I think moving to that more flexible environment has also helped with how busy we were, and meant that, being in our comfort at home, it also helped during that busy time. So that's probably the biggest changes that we've had at Domino's.
Fantastic. Well, that's really good insight. And I think a common theme that's really coming out is that flexibility in working, but more importantly, organisations understanding the need to support staff to be able to work from home. It's one thing to sort of expect staff to work from home, but it's another to really fully support them. And like, that's impressive. So you've actually given them trust to go out and buy their own hardware, and I'm guessing that you've reimbursed them in one way or another. That's fantastic. And 25,000 staff across 9 countries. Again, that's really impressive. And yeah, kudos, for being the largest pizza franchise in the world. So now that we've had a really good introduction by each speaker, I'd like to now turn to a QA session, an interactive QA session. So what I'll do is I have some pre-prepared questions, but in the chat box, you are welcome to sort of type in your own question, and if we have time, we should be able to sort of slip in a few of your questions into the session today. So today we said we'll turn our focus to how the current pandemic has affected the way that businesses are reporting, forecasting and measuring performance, and more importantly, how they're managing during the crisis. I'm going to start off with you, Neil. Has there been much change in reporting, forecasting and measuring performance due to COVID-19?
I wouldn't have said there's been a significant change. We report weekly now prior to COVID. We're continuing to obviously do that. I suppose there's been more emphasis on understanding the additional costs coming into our business. But we actually, and this will sound weird, but we actually to some extent don't care about those costs, because what we want to do is actually the right thing for the community, and it was more important for us as an organisation to do the right thing for the community, you know, whether it's opening hours, whether it's providing those basic boxes, whether it's changing our online delivery to focus on those that are most vulnerable within the community, wanting to make sure our workplace was safe for our employees, but also for people coming to our workplace. So to some extent, costs weren't necessarily it. It was about doing the right thing for the community and doing the right thing for our people and for our customers. So has our cycle changed? No, we're still on this doing exactly the same cycles, weekly, monthly, quarterly, half yearly and annually cycles. Our budgeting process hasn't changed. Our focus on the costs coming in, although I said we don't necessarily care about, we are focused on the costs going out as the pandemic dissipates. We want to make sure those costs don't stay within our organisation. So we have been capturing all of those costs separately in separate cost centres or cost elements, depending on which business you're in. You do call them all something different. So, so in a way, yes, but not really. The expectations on my team have been exactly the same as they were pre and post COVID.
Fantastic. I mean, I really love that comment, you know, which, you know, you basically emphasize, you know, the good to the community outweighs the the additional costs that have been incurred, and why that's really important is because it's effectively the community, you know, who are your clients, your customers, and they're going to come back again and they're going to shop with you and they'll remember that brand. And it's also, you know, absolutely right, doing the right thing. Vanessa, what has your experience been like with PwC in light of the changes that you've had to adapt to?
In terms of changes in the way that we work, I guess it's really just the businesses in general being really supportive of people working flexibly. I actually in June, I actually went down to Sydney and work out of Sydney at my partner's home for 3 weeks because my business partner was happy that we were working from anywhere as long as we're being efficient in what we're doing. We have the right setup and everything. And, you know, the team is really embracing that. I think, like I mentioned earlier, like the use of some of the tools have been really useful. There are definitely still challenges in the way that we work, especially a lot of the larger scale workshops or meetings that we have to host. And, you know, like in February, for example, I was traveling to Darwin, Sydney and Adelaide all in 1 month, and there was no way I was going to go to any other states during the pandemic. So we actually had a board meeting scheduled for one of our clients in Darwin in April, and none of us could be there. So some of those things are really challenging to do without that face-to-face interaction with the client and to get the real life feedback on some of the work that you're doing. You know, there's also meetings where you really need to be collaborative, such as, you know, stakeholder or community engagement work that we do, that you need to be there. You need to, you know, we sometimes use different tools, you know, you either draw up on a whiteboard or something just to stimulate people's ideas throughout the workshop and get to a reasonable conclusion for a certain project. That those things have been really hard to do. Like you definitely have tools such as the whiteboards that we could use on Microsoft Teams and so on, but when you have an environment that we can typically do it here in the office with 60 people, that's been really challenging to do. But, you know, everyone's trying to work really hard in figuring out what's the best way forward given the current situation, and definitely feel that the team has worked a lot better collaboratively. And, you know, there's actually a lot more chats about well-being and all that as well. The team tries to get together every so often just to see how we're all going, especially, you know, we had a graduate joined us just, I think, a week before the pandemic. He doesn't even know all of our names, and then he had to start working from home. So, the firm's the team members' well-being definitely got to the top of the consideration a lot throughout it. So, yeah.
Fantastic. And I suppose it would be definitely a good learning curve for that graduate.
Yes.
A hard, good learning curve.
Sure.
And I suppose, as you mentioned, like less travel can be a challenge, but I think it's also been good in the sense that it has introduced that flexibility. It means that you can practically work from anywhere. And what's important, or what's a highlight, is the productivity, your efficiency. As long as you can prove you're efficient and you can still get the job done, that's all that matters. And I think organisations are now starting to wake up to that reality. Ben, what are some positives that have risen from the COVID situation? Given that more people are now working from home, are we getting more pizzas? Are we eating more pizzas?
We are definitely eating more pizzas, especially in, I guess in your residential areas. Definitely. I guess in your more tourist destinations and inner city, not so much. What we are doing better with flexibility, I guess there's more productivity from everyone. For example, on Tuesday, I worked from 6:30 to about 10, and I was like, the weather's good. It's been a bit cold in the mornings. I'll take the dog for a walk. Taking the dog for a walk. I was on meetings, so my phone's connected in. I was on meetings while I was taking the dog, and being able to have that flexibility. Whereas previously, I guess we'd be in the office, wouldn't be able to go out, would be stuck at our desk. And a lot of people are finding ways to find that balance to them working. So having gaps throughout the day, and that's how we've been able to keep sane within this busy period, is to find ways to take a break from your work, because we've seen us do more work than ever before. Our performance and our output is more efficient than it ever has been. My team has taken on a lot of new work, and I have a lot of 21-year-olds and 22-year-olds in the team, so I have about 4 of them in the team, and keeping them in line and making sure they're all good. We've using Microsoft Teams and all of that, and just communicating frequently, whether it's the ANZ CFO with the wider finance team, or our managing director Don May with the whole network. That's the one thing they've had a focus on. So the flexible working arrangements really had made a lot of people happy. There are members in our team that are coming back only 1 day a week, once in a couple of weeks, once everyone returns back to the office. So it's providing a lot of flexibility.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think that's definitely a highlight. And, I think it's about the notion that you can start whenever, finish whenever, get your job done. That's a premise. Get your work done, be productive in your own way, make sure you're hitting your KPIs. And as long as you can do that, there's nothing wrong with rewarding yourself by having a meeting while you're walking a dog, effectively. As long as it's not a board meeting and your video's not on.
Video wasn't on.
Yeah. Now we do have a question from one of the students, and originally I think the questions come from Vanessa, but I'm actually going to redirect it, with your permission, Vanessa, to Kim, because I think Kim can give us a bit of a more broader industry perspective. Sorry to Kim to put you on the spot. But the question is, given the fact that a lot of this, a lot of staff are required to work from home, how are students, or how can students gain practical exposure or experience if most organisations are required to work from home these days? What is a piece of advice that you can give to them? And I think from my perspective is, another question to add to, or to think about is, should students consider doing virtual internships?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, great question. And it is, it's tricky at the moment. But I guess we're lucky up here in Brisbane, as restrictions are easing, everything's going back to normal. you know, I think the virtual internships are absolutely one way around it, to keep your knowledge up, and also something that you can say that, you know, I think as you're applying for jobs and trying to get into the industry, to be able to say, you know, during the COVID-19 lockdown, this is what I did, you know, what are the extra things that you went above and beyond to prove that, you know, you're keen. And I think it's Sherpa
Yeah, Inside
internships. I'm not,
Sherpa.
yeah, yes. So I've heard good things about those. So you can do them all online. If you just look it up, I'm sure I'll be able to find the link and be able to post it there for you. But definitely virtual internships are probably a good start until I guess things go back to normal. But even, you know, volunteering your time. So getting in contact, putting yourself out there, getting in contact with organisations and saying, you know, I'm about to graduate. Is there anything I can help you with to gain some work experience? Volunteer your time. You may not get paid for it, but it's still experience that you're able to gain, and you don't know where that may lead. Yeah.
Fantastic. And yeah, Inside Sherpa is fantastic.
That's
Those internships,
yeah.
I mean, they're virtual, but they only go for like 4 or 5 hours, so it doesn't require too much of your time. It's a great way to sort of trial the, I suppose, you know, the working environment or the business sort of environment, particularly to do with reporting. So, you know, great insight there. Now,
Mustafa,
yes,
sorry,
yes,
just in terms of, we have a partnership with Adelaide Uni, and we run some internships, and the last two had both of those have secured roles with us. So I'd encourage through your university to look at opportunities for internships as well, because most universities will do that. And also we get a lot of our graduate roles, I suppose you'd call them, from our stores, where people are working in stores and studying part-time. So we reach out to our stores and say, is there anyone studying part-time? Is there anyone interested in finance careers, etc.? And so we get a lot of our people through the store network as well. So just different ways of potentially getting into different organisations for others to think about.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, we have a careers portal that we're regularly updating with casual jobs, part-time jobs, but more importantly, internships, and including virtual internships. But I suppose my next question is, and this is directly related to our conversation, Neil, if there are roles with Woolworths Group, what's the best way to sort of discover these roles, and how can students apply? Is it by going through the website, or do you upload it on Seek?
We do both. So we do have on Seek, and we'll also put them on our website. And on our website, you can put in alerts. So whenever a role with the title accountant comes up, you can get an alert and receive and say, hey, this job's available.
Brilliant.
So you can go through 2 avenues to do that.
Brilliant. And is that the same with internships? Do you also advertise your roles, or are they privately advertised through the universities?
Yeah, they're advertised through the universities.
Okay. So if you do have anything coming up, please do keep me in the loop. You've got my email address. And for those students who are interested in applying for for an internship, at Woolworths Group, please have a look on Careers Connect. Now, Vanessa, what about PwC? I've heard they've got a comprehensive graduate program, but also a vacation program. Has PwC looked into virtual internships or not yet?
I am not very aware about what is happening with like virtual internships and so on. Typically, the firm goes through a recruitment process for graduates and vacationers every year between March and April. So, like most of the top tier or mid tier firms, all graduate role applications close by the end of March, and then the process goes through in April. I think there's video interviews, group assessments, and partner interviews are the typical steps that would go through. In terms of a graduate program, I think each team has a different program that they put together every year that comprises of, different types of training. If you're in the tax team, there's regular, I think monthly or so on, tax updates or training to make sure the graduates are up to date with that type of things. In my graduate program, as I sit in the Deals and Infrastructure Urban Renewal practice, I had a 3-month rotation to another team during my first year, and also have regular training as well, just to have a wider understanding of the organisation and the team. For when COVID-19 happened, we were in the middle of a hiring process. My understanding is that for the graduates that have been told that they would be joining us next year, their roles are secure, but I'm pretty sure the firm has reduced the number of intakes next year for graduates. I think there's also a question in the chat sort of in relation to whether our firm had to let go of anyone. So unfortunately, yes, we have trialled going through an 80% work week for a certain number of our teams. I think a large proportion of our firm actually work for 4 days for a number of months. And then unfortunately, in our last CEO update 2 weeks ago, they have mentioned that 400 of our staff in consulting and financial advisory would be let go. So there's no hiring process in the near term, is my understanding. But any of our vocational roles or graduate roles will all be advertised on our website. There's also a lot of this posted on LinkedIn by our recruiters as well. I share them on my LinkedIn if there's anything that I'm aware of, and so on. So yeah.
Fantastic piece of advice, and I think you mentioned LinkedIn, and I've also started to see a trend where there's more coverage now on LinkedIn with a significant amount of job postings on there. Ben, with Domino's, is there sort of like a set period where you have a graduate recruitment or an internship program, or is it sort of done gradually throughout the year as it's required? How does it work at Domino's?
Yep. So I had a big thing to do with, I guess, creating our undergraduate program. I think we've got across the finance, I think we've got about 15 people who are either graduates or undergrads. And predominantly it's as we require throughout the year. Any ads are usually on Seek. So at the moment, I don't think there's anything on the horizons, but you never know. There's always more work that we're getting, so requirements change. I mean, there was 2 newly created roles in the last financial year. That involves a mentoring program, and me and the global tax manager, I guess, putting on monthly training sessions and then coordinating training based on what they require. I think if you're looking for those roles, it's predominantly probably from Seek. But I'd also suggest for people is I guess on here is going and networking and virtual networking in Vanessa and I, as part of the Young Professionals for Queensland, we've created events, and I know on a lot of those events people get, they add me on LinkedIn or they'll add Vanessa, and I also advertise on LinkedIn. So they're probably the ways to meet and build your network. And I'd highly suggest that to the people online if they're looking for potential opportunities. Just being there and connecting with people for when those roles come is probably what I would suggest.
Fantastic. And I think it is really important what you've highlighted there, the virtual networking and really putting yourself out there is really becoming ever more important, particularly for those who are starting out their journey. Because I know, like Ben, you've had a really successful career sort of progression. What advice would you give to students who basically have limited work experience and are starting out their journey and looking to enter industry for the first time? Would it be just that, virtually connect with virtually connect with people, with key decision makers, join committees like the CPA committee, or get more involved? What would be your advice? Like what made you successful and get to where you are? That's what I'm really trying to get to.
I guess I was just ruthless, and I just applied for roles, and I would go and connect, and I did what I needed to do to build my network. Or if I was giving any advice to everyone out there, I would be doing these virtual committees. I'd also be networking in person. I'd be dropping my resume to all accounting firms, small, big, looking at all roles. If they were finance officers, if they're account receivable, I'd be going everywhere and just trying to find it. I'd be talking to recruiters. I'd be just really putting yourself out there and I guess not taking no for an answer, and then showing, I guess, initiative. And, you know, I know a couple of people I know, they got their first job in Australia. One or two of them moved from like New Zealand or whatever, and they struggled to get roles. And what they did was walk around Brisbane, and they dropped their resume in person, said, "Can I see the partner? Here's my resume. Do you have anything for me?" And they were small firms, but that's how they got the roles. And I'd suggest that to people, is just see if they can get an in somehow, whether it's an internship or virtual networking or in person. And, you know, yes, we keep talking about virtual, but you always make an impression in person. So don't forget about that, because a lot of people are returning back to work. So that's probably my advice.
Fantastic. And I think to lead on from that, I'd be very delighted to hear your insights as well, Neil and Vanessa. What is that one piece of advice that you would give to future graduates and those who are sort of looking to enter or break into the industry? Starting with you, Neil.
I think for new people starting, don't expect to be the CEO on day one. Expect to be doing the accounts payable, accounts receivable. You're doing some of the basic transactions. That's where, you know, I started doing that, you know, doing timesheets, costing timesheets when I first started. It's the best place to learn. So don't get disappointed if that's what you're doing first up. Eventually, by showing initiative, having the right EQ, you know, the emotional side of things in terms of your ability to communicate, engage, manage change, be parting and receptive of change. Those emotional qualities are what are going to set you apart from someone else. So start at the bottom, get to know everything about the organisation and how things work, because that's the best way to then be able to demonstrate capability moving forward.
Fantastic. And from you, Vanessa.
Yep. I guess probably starting with, you know, a lot of the times when Kim and I go to campus, we've always said to students, you know, it doesn't matter if you start in a top tier firm, mid tier firm, or, you know, not for profit, anywhere that you start, any experience that you get is really good experience. And the other thing that I've observed a lot is, you know, while I'm in a very large organization and there's a lot of different service teams, accounting can actually take you to many different places. And I think is also as important for students to understand what type of role or what part of accounting are you interested in, what sort of environment do you want to be, you know, placing yourself in the future. That's always something to have a think about as well. I guess for me, the advice is, yeah, definitely resonate with the point of, you know, problem solving skills, knowing how to work in a team. Most of my work, I don't do anything like a traditional accountant. So most of my job is really about critical thinking outside of the box, while you observe guidelines and standards and practices, but being able to communicate really effectively. When you have a chance to upskill yourself, do that. And like Ben said, you know, get yourself outside of your comfort zone, go to different networking events, meet other people, learn more about the industry, what else is out there, what sort of, you know, every time we go to our young professionals committee events, I would always meet an accountant in a sector or in a role that I didn't know accountants can work in. And I think that's the interesting part about having a commerce or accounting degree. And, you know, for us, we always say to our team that, you know, you can teach someone technical skills on the job, and what you need to learn for each project is always different, and you learn on the spot, but you can't teach someone to be a team player if they don't want to be. So that's definitely something that's becoming increasingly important to us. And that's a question we get a lot in recruiting processes, that no, we don't just look for straight 7 students. We all do look for people that, you know, be active. You know, you can join a student association at uni. You can, you know, like Ben said, join us and be more active in meeting a few of us. You know, we can share our stories with you at the same time, and probably close it with, you know, accounting's not just about debit and credit. at least for me, it's about the business acumen and having a wider commercial understanding of your industry. And I think that's going to be very important going forward in the next 10 years.
Fantastic. And some final insights from you, Kim. Final words of advice.
Well, I think my piece of advice for all of you is, you know, if you want to working for CPA, if you want to show, you know, potential employers that you are keen, get a head start on your designation. So become an ASA, enroll in the CPA program, because that also shows that you've got initiative and that you're prepared to work hard for what you want. It is a tough program, but it certainly is well regarded within all of the industries. And I mean, you've just heard from 3 wonderful CPAs who have been through the program themselves and you know, are very active members. So I think also by joining the CPA program, you also then meet other people through the program, and that's how you start building your network. So it's not just about studying the program, it's about, as Ben said and Vanessa have said, building those networks and yeah, connecting with other people that are in the same industry that you want to get into. So yeah.
Fantastic. I've run out of paper to write notes because it's been that insightful. This brings us to an end for this session. I hope you've all enjoyed tuning in. I have certainly benefited from our conversation. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I think you know, limiting it to 1 hour did us injustice, particularly to our panelists, because there was so much to sort of learn from them, but also share. And I had a lot of questions that I had on my list that I haven't had an opportunity to ask, but I'm sure we can leave that to another time. It's been absolutely wonderful to hear from our panelists and get their insights into how some of these international firms are managing during a pandemic that we're currently facing. And it was good to sort of learn about how it's had an impact on reporting and measuring performance, but more importantly, to learn about the skills and you know, the skills that are required to really put yourself out there and step into the industry, particularly if you don't have experience. And again, a big highlight is, you know, you need to show initiative, and one way of doing that is enroll into the CPA program. Look into the CPA Ambassador program, volunteer, go to attend networking events, do the virtual internship programs if there are some that are being advertised, take up a casual job, part-time job, but importantly, get outside your comfort zone. I love that, Vanessa. I can't emphasize that, you know, and you know, and university can teach you the technical skills, but these are the skills that you learn with experience. You learn with mistakes. Don't be afraid to make these mistakes. You know, that's how we've all got here to where we are today in our own right. So look, I would like to really thank our guests for their time. It was an absolute privilege to hear from you all. To all our students, staff and academics and everyone else that's joined, thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Goodbye.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.